Okay, I think we're ready to get started.
Yeah, I think so.
Thanks.
All right. We'll catch everybody else up as they hop in as well. So thank you guys for being here. My name is Garrett Russell. I'm one of the attendance specialists here at USBE, and we're really excited today. We have a lot of great guest presenters, so this is going to be a cool webinar. Thanks for being here. Our agenda today, we're going to dive into our upcoming dates as we roll into the new school year, and then talk about some commonly asked questions around attendance, some updates for our statewide attendance campaign, and then we have our community resource presentations. First up will be the Utah After School Network, followed by 211, and then the Juvenile Justice Community Engagement, and then Wayne School District will be presenting, and then we'll kind of wrap things up with an exit survey and lead into some questions that we'll stick around to. Hopefully answer all of those for you. All right. So as we roll into the new school year, our first webinar is going to take place January 13th. We'll be sticking with the same time at 10:30, and then it's going to be every other month, just like this year. So we'll follow that up with March 10th, and then May 5th as we kind of wrap up the actual school year for everybody. So those will be up there. We'll share that information in our newsletter that comes out as well. Right. I'm going to pass it over to Megan for some commonly asked questions.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name's Megan Nunlove. I'm one of the other attendance specialist here at USBE. And I'm just going to go over a couple of commonly asked questions with each of our webinars. If this is your first time attending, we always try to find some commonly asked questions based around legislation and things that people might be curious about. So today we're going to talk about, you want to go to the next slide. Today we're going to just talk really quickly about the rodeo bill. I don't know if you guys are familiar, but last legislative session, rodeo was added to the list of valid excuses. So if you're curious, what are the other valid excuses? You can click on, here, let me drop this in the chat. So if you want to, and I will also, somebody just asked a question about how you get added to the newsletter, and I will drop that in the chat as well, the link that you can sign up for that, or you can just email me. But our valid excuses in definition, they are defined in state code in 53G6201. And if you click on that link and you go all the way down, it'll tell you what are the valid excuses. And those are excuses that are common across the state of what is an actual excused absence in school. Oh, perfect. Thanks, Garrett, for pulling that up. So you can see that like an illness, this is where we get the question too a lot about, do you have to have a medical note? This also provides there that you cannot require medical documentation to consider an illness as a valid excuse. Mental or behavioral health of the child, a family death, an approved school activity, and then an absence permitted by the school-age child, IEP or 504. And then you'll see here where it was added, competition in a rodeo sanctioned by international nonprofit organizations dedicated to the development of sportsmanship, horsemanship, and character in youth through the sport of rodeo. So you might have already heard about this, but we did have a question that has come up a couple of times. This does not mean that rodeo is a school excused absence. In a lot of schools, those are coded differently and treated differently. So just a clarification that it is a valid excuse, which means that parents can excuse their child for participation in rodeo, but that does not mean that you have to school excuse them. So just wanted to clarify that with what the law states. If you have questions about that, please let us know. The other thing we wanted to just quickly clarify this morning is about publicizing your attendance policy. So if you weren't familiar already, there is a board rule. It's R277607. So if you want to open that, you can. I can drop that in the chat as well. But this is our state board rule around absenteeism and truancy prevention. There's a lot of helpful information in this but a lot of it just matches that same code that we were just going over. But one of the other things that it does talk about is the promotion of regular attendance. And it does say that you talks about what should be included in your attendance policy, but then it also says that you need to publicize your policy. And that has to be through your website, your handbook, a letter to parents, and then other reasonable means of communication. So if you have not sent out your attendance policy this school year, then we would invite you to do that. And then just a reminder that it should be on your website. It should be included in some sort of your student handbook or parent handbook, and that it does need to be sent out specifically. That can be like a back to school letter. Some people just include it with all their other policies. But just if people were asking, like, do we have to publicize it? And the answer is yes. Your attendance policy should be available to the public, not just to your own parents, but should be available on your website so that other people can see what is your policy. So those are the two commonly asked questions we just wanted to clarify. Again, if you have more questions about either of those or other legislation, you are welcome to reach out to us and we are happy to clarify or to get you the answers if we don't know them. If you aren't familiar, there was already one attendance bill that was presented in the Education Interim Committee last month, and then there's another attendance bill that is being presented tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow in the Education Interim Committee. The bill last month was from Representative Fillmore, Senator Fillmore. No, I can't remember, but from Fillmore, and then tomorrow it is from Representative Welton. So that bill has a lot of stuff in it that you might be curious about. So that will be presented tomorrow. So if you have questions, we'll obviously keep you guys updated with any attendance legislation that is passed once the new session starts in January. All right, now I'm going to give you just a quick update on the statewide attendance campaign. If you aren't familiar, you haven't heard yet, we just launched, I guess not in the middle of it because it's an ongoing campaign, but last month the campaign was funded $150,000, which is super awesome. It means that we can now hire an official advertising agency to help us with the promotion of our attendance campaign. So we're really, really excited about that. The campaign was also featured this last weekend in a news article on KSL. If you want to watch that, I will give you a warning that there's a lot of me talking, so it's hard for me to share this, but I will share it because it's about promoting the campaign, which is what we do and what I feel passionate about. So you're welcome to learn more in the article. And then most importantly, we would love to invite anyone and everyone to still join our attendance challenge and to become an attendance ambassador. It's really simple. It's no additional work to you to become an attendance ambassador. It shows our board, our state board, and our state legislators that we have a lot of people who are already working together to promote attendance. So there's a quick update on the campaign. And now we are going to go to our presentations, which we are super excited about. We have some awesome people here who have agreed to help us understand what it is that they offer within our own communities, and how that can help us address the barriers to our students attending school. So first up, we're going to hear from the After School Network. So I'm going to turn the time over to Ben Treadleman, who is going to tell us a little bit about his program and how it can benefit all of us as we are working together to get kids back into school.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much, Megan. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak here today. I am the executive director with the Utah After School Network, and we're a statewide nonprofit organization that supports after school programs. We are not direct service providers, so we aren't running after school, but we do work with every program in the state. We're actually contracted by the State Board of Education and the Office of Child Care to provide our support and resources to any programs and organizations that receive funding from them. So we're really a statewide support for any programs receiving funding or not receiving funding. So a general overview of what we do exactly in supporting after school is that we are the state's program quality support organization. So we help programs with self-assessments, external observations, to look at how well they're implementing best practices and running programs. We have a team that goes out and provides technical assistance, coaching, and consultation as programs are engaging in those self-assessments to make sure that they are receiving training and best practice support that they need. We support professional development in the state. We're the only organization that provides statewide professional development opportunities to after-school providers through statewide and regional conferences, as well as some one-off training opportunities around things like mental health first aid, well-being, behavior management, and things along those lines. Something else that we do that I think is definitely relevant to this conversation is that we support school day alignment between after school programs and schools. This is important because we're all serving the same kids. They don't magically transform once the bell rings at the end of the day and they go into an after school program. So we really strive to make sure that we have a complete team that is supporting kids holistically, from school day teachers to staff and after school programs to parents or other community members that may be involved in the lives of those kids. So we have a school alignment rubric that we administer that schools and after school programs can do separately or together that really identifies some pillars and areas that both of those entities can be practicing and engaging in to make sure that they're working together as well as they possibly can. That may be, including after school program staff in IEP meetings or in support crew teams for kids, making sure that after school program staff have access to school counselors where they can raise issues that they may be observing in programs, or even making sure that after schools and the school day are partnering to make sure kids are completing homework or talking about attendance and things along those lines. We've got a very robust toolkit on our website that has a number of different resources to help out with that partnership. And we even have a school alignment specialist, and her whole job is working with schools and after school programs to make sure that they have effective and strong relationships to better serve the kids that are attending school and after school programs. We do unified data collection throughout the state. So we have a platform where we can help programs collect student attendance data, activity data, and things along those lines to really help overcome any cost barriers or make sure that they're collecting information and sharing it in a meaningful way. We support regional networks all throughout the state. We have one in northern Utah, one in Salt Lake County, and then one in southwest and southeast Utah. And so if you're in any of those regions and would like to connect with after-school providers or other youth-serving organizations, then you're welcome to contact me. We can put you in touch with them. We're an advocacy organization, so we've been very busy in this last year as we saw some of the same federal funds that were impacting educators also being withheld from after-school programs. And so we do a lot to make sure that after-school providers, families, and community partners are empowered to speak out and voice their support for these programs and everything that they do. We're very active during the legislative session and working on a federal and municipal scales as well. And then last but not least, we also provide resources for families in the community. So we have different resources for families. We have a searchable find a program map where you can type in your zip code or your city, and it will tell you of all the after school programs that are in your area, and will tell you their hours of operation, services that they offer, fees for service, if meals are provided or transportation or anything that hopefully anyone would want to know about after school programs in their area. And so we do all of that. And so really, I think to summarize a lot of what we do is the Utah After School Network, we're a backbone and bridge building organization. And so we want to make sure that these programs are able to operate effectively throughout the state and that they have strong partnerships and buy-in. And some good information that I wanted to share as well is the After School Alliance, which is a national advocacy organization for after school programs. They also conduct and share research. They just released in the past year a updated report on the impacts of after-school programs and summer programs on academics in schools. And we in Utah actually have some great findings of our own where we've seen kids that participate in programs in Utah see increased math, science, and reading scores. We also see impacts on overall attendance. And some information I found from in this report that I thought is good to share as well is specifically talking about decreasing chronic absenteeism. A 2023 Department of Ed report on 21st Century Community Learning Center programs found that nearly half of students, 49%, who were chronically absent the previous year improved their school day attendance in the current school year. And a 2021 evaluation of California's after-school education and safety and after-school safety and enrichment for teens programs found that on average, students attending the after-school programs had higher rates of school day attendance, up to 1.5% more school days than their non-participating peers. Also around improving attitudes towards school, which also impacts chronic absenteeism. A 2022 evaluation of Delaware's 21st Century Community Learning Centers um, participants found that more than 8 in 10, or 83%, said that they felt more connected to their school because of their after school programs. And nearly 9 in 10 parents and participants agreed with this. And then similarly, in an evaluation in North Dakota's 21st century programs, found that more than 8 in 10 students said that they liked school better because they go to their after school programs. And there we saw 7 in 10 parents reported that their after school program helped their child's attitude towards school improve overall. And so I just want to make it clear that we're also very vested in the success of these students. And hopefully you're able to have strong, meaningful relationships with after school programs in your community. And so if you'd like to work more or learn more about where you can build those relationships, please feel free to reach out to me, and we're more than happy to help put you in contact with the program. If there's a program that you'd like to bolster your relationship with, then let us know. We're here to help out with any of that. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Ben. I think that is such helpful information for all of us to have. Um, Especially like I love the article just talking, very specifically with the data too, that we know kids who are involved with things after school are more likely to attend school during school. So thank you for sharing about your organization and the great work that you guys are doing that helps all of us to keep kids in school. So questions, you guys can and drop those in the chat if you have questions specific, and also we'll send out this recording and contact information for each of our presenters today if you want to reach out to them. So thank you. Next, we've got Delaney Soper. I'm probably going to say that wrong. You'll have to tell everybody. But we're excited to have you here from 211 and United Way. So we will turn the time over to her.
Thank you, Megan. Hi, everyone. My name is Delaney Soper. You did say it right, Megan. Yeah, I work for 211. We are partnered with United Ways of Utah. Specifically, I actually work in the Salt Lake office. We do have a few different offices throughout the state of Utah. 211 itself is actually a nationwide service, but we just cover the state of Utah. So some things about 211, we are an easy to remember 3-digit number that connects people to all different kinds of services. That does include like housing, utilities, food, transportation resources, and so much more. You are able to connect with us in all different kinds of ways. That does include call, text, chat, email. You can also reach out to us on social media. We have a Facebook, Instagram. We also have a website and our app. And then some things to remember about 211. So we are free and confidential for everyone, not just the lower income people, but also those who are not. Anyone who needs help can also reach out to us. We are a number to call and give help and get help. And we're also an invaluable resource in the aftermath of a disaster. So anytime we do have a disaster here in the state of Utah, you are able to reach out to us, and we have the most up-to-date and accurate information that is available out there. Some other things to remember about us, sorry, where did it go? So some of the most common referral categories that we have within our database and what we refer people out to is going to be housing, which is our highest need. That is usually sitting about 28% for all the total referrals that we give out. Transportation is next, and that is at 10%. Same with food assistance, that is also at 10%. Utility assistance, it's about almost the same, about 9%. And then healthcare sits about 8%. So for a total, but yeah, housing is our biggest need right now, and then transportation, food, and everything else kind of falls right after that. Within the last year, we have actually transitioned into service navigation, which is just doing more for our clients. So we are helping them help move past those barriers that they may come across when it comes to like applications, getting connected to providers if they're having a hard time, just helping them get connected to the actual providers and programs that they need assistance with. So that's been a really great move in the direction that we want. What was else? Sorry. Okay. And then so we actually do connect with almost 3,000 providers on a yearly basis. All of our service navigators do connect with our providers once a year or more, depending on how many times we actually refer out to those providers. Um, and then we also have more almost 10,000 services in our database as well. And then it is not just for kids, but it is also for their families and anyone else that's needing help. And I think that was the end of it. Okay, yeah, that was it. So, yeah, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. Like Megan said, she'll be sending out my contact information later.
Thank you, Delaney. What a great resource. Like so many things and so many ways to help families and to help our students in our community just find the resources. I love that. And that's such a big thing. We were looking at, we've kind of been creating our own like list of community resources here on our website. And at the top of it is like, go to 211 because I'm like, they have so much more than what we could even put together on our website. So I think it's such a helpful resource, and I love that you kind of pointed out, the things that can be barriers even for our students. Those things align to with some of the things we hear about why kids are not attending school. It can be because of housing, can be because of transportation, and it definitely can be because of food insecurities, and especially this time of year as things are getting colder and things are happening. So what a great resource to know where to go so that you can point as a leader, as a school district leader, you can point your families in a way to get the resources that they need so that they can reduce the barriers and get their kids back into school. So thanks so much for joining us today and for sharing that. I know most of you are probably familiar with it. But we wanted to just make sure and to have somebody that you could, a point of contact, somebody that you could reach out to specifically if you can't find what you need there or if you have other questions. So thank you so much, Delaney. So next we're going to have Erica Wood. She's here. She's on the Commission for Criminal and Juvenile Justice. I'm going to let her introduce herself. She'll do a better job than I do. And she's got a lot of helpful information. I told her that I have a lot to learn still about what kind of things that the juvenile justice system and team can offer to us as we work with our families and students. So thanks, Erica.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. Thanks for having me here. I know our organization is a bit of a mouthful, but this is a state office. We work within the governor's office, and we are the Commission on Criminal and Juvenile Justice. And some of you may know of some of our commissions, but there's a group, the Commission on Criminal and Juvenile Justice, that runs through our office, the Sentencing Commission, the Victim Services Commission. But I'm with the Juvenile Justice team. And so overall, you can see on the slide, right, we provide leaders, policymakers, partners, communities with research, data, funding, and just uplifting prevention techniques, treatment, and safety. The Juvenile Justice Group, we have 3 groups in our office. One, the Juvenile Justice Oversight Committee, which provides research and data on current trends in the juvenile justice system and youth justice. The Utah Board of Juvenile Justice, which provides some funding opportunities I'll talk about. And then I work with our Community Engagement Working Group. Some of you may be wondering or wondering what kind of the connection is between this and attendance campaigns. And, just one thing to keep in mind, risk factors and protective factors that may indicate juvenile justice involvement or lead to juvenile justice involvement. One of those protective factors, just like in your world, protective factors for things like connection to school, but we look at things like, pro-social connection, connection with peers, connections with school, academic success. So that's really our connection here, and we're happy to be involved. If you can go to the next slide, I'll show you a little bit about what we do. I think the biggest thing to keep in mind with us is just if you have questions or if there are trends you're seeing or concerns, please reach out. A lot of the work that we do, we do this because we've received feedback from community members or leaders or schools that there's something confusing in state policy or there's an area where they need more support, and we are happy to do that work. These slides should be, and Megan, the slides will be sent out. Is that right too? Okay, perfect. I have a lot of links in here, so I'd really invite you all to come back and check these out, but I'll walk you through them a little bit. So first, a good place to find statewide juvenile justice data is our website. So we have the 2025 Juvenile Justice Annual Report. You'll see previous years as well. And again, trends all over Utah. For you all, what may be of interest, school-based offenses, serious offenses, and firearm offenses. You can find all that data on our website. Local juvenile justice research. This we have a school offense resource or a referral guide. So, when you can refer to a juvenile court or when you should look at some other techniques, some things that will intervene or keep youth out of the system. Habitual truancy guide, information there on our website. A new infographic that we don't have out yet, but if there's interest, I'm happy to send it. We'll be looking at that risk. So comparing the risk in the juvenile justice system, like the risk to reoffend, with other maybe definitions of risk, like the risk of not graduating or the risk of harm to self or others, and then looking at protective factors for all of those. So that was another example of our local juvenile justice research. Please also check out our drug prevention and school safety presentations. We presented last year at the Promising Youth Conference, at School Safety Conference, and this grew out of just maybe concern and confusion about what can be done in schools, by schools, to prevent drug use or just kind of drugs in schools. So we're happy to be a resource to people there as well. And finally, our office has we receive federal pass-through funds. So we have some funding to prevent delinquency, to support youth, to support families, and schools can also apply for those funds. So check that out. Those are released depending on the funding stream kind of throughout the year. And let's see, next slide. A really exciting project that we're working on right now. We have a statewide geospatial study. And so we were able to look at the home addresses of youth who are being referred to juvenile court to see where there were neighborhoods or kind of hotspots that jumped out. And and we're using that data, using that kind of geospatial look, that map look, to bring resources, support, community connection, community engagement to those areas so that youth and families in those areas can all work collectively to reduce those referrals to court, to work on prevention, and kind of to lift up those youth and families. So in order to do that, we looked at over 700 neighborhoods. We've identified 100 top priority areas, and we're looking at different kind of intervention tiers. And it's really what we're really hoping there is not that this is a report card, but it really allows us to work with communities to connect, bring resources, programs, and funding to the areas where they're most needed. Schools are a big part of that. And so if you or your school, your district, you have interest in that work, please reach out. My contact information is on that first slide. We'd love to talk more, give you an overview of the study, and think about ways we can partner with you as a youth serving provider. I believe that's all. If people have questions, I'm happy to answer them. And otherwise, thanks for having me today.
Thanks, Erica. What helpful information. I know it's a lot of like I was just posting a bunch of the links in the chat so people could click on that. But one of the things I wanted to just highlight specifically, we put this on our website too, is that school offense referral guide. I know as a school leader, that would have been super helpful for me to have, like, looking at what are the offenses and then is this referable to court? Is it not? Kind of understanding our system better in a more simplified way to understand the law and kind of how those referrals work with our juvenile students that are in our schools. So I would definitely recommend if you guys have questions, you can feel free to drop them in the chat. We'll have time at the end for questions as well today, but also again, we'll send out contact information for each of these presenters if you have specific questions about what services they've talked about. So our last presentation we have this morning is from Nikki Stringham. She is with Wayne School District, and they are doing some really awesome things to combat chronic absenteeism in their district, but also to involve their community members and to help students get connections within the community. So we asked her to come and present and to kind of share what they're doing in Wayne County. So we'll turn the time over to you, Nikki. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you. So we've done a few things, but this is kind of our big project for this year. We have one for high school, and our high school is 7 through 12, and then one for our elementary school, which is pretty much everybody else. So the high school one I'll start with. We're doing a community attendance reach out activity. We've titled it Show Up for Success, which basically we have a lot of our students. One of the concerns that we have seen as a district is that we have a lot of students who they're not getting in trouble. They're not going out and robbing banks or anything like that, but they're working. They're staying on the farm, or they're working at the dad's gas station, or they're, because it's kind of a different perspective maybe here than you'd see in the city. So getting in trouble here is, whoops, I set my dad's haystack on fire or something like that. But so what we wanted to try and do is show them that even if you decide that you're not going to go to college or whatever the case may be, if you come to school, you're going to get things that are going to help you when you get out into the world. So we've started reaching out. And I'm doing it through the character education department because that is district wide. So it's not just high school. Like I said, we also have one that will happen at the elementary schools. But we are sending out information, suggestions, I guess you could say, for a lot of our community members, because we do have a lot of our students, especially 11th and 12th graders, who are working. And we've got, it's hard to find people who can work in the middle of the day. So we've got a lot of students who end up, oh yeah, well, I'm taking 3 hours off on Tuesday because I have to go to the grocery store and work or something like that. So we've reached out to different business owners like that to see if we can't get them to come in and talk a little bit more about why they want the kids to come to school. We're trying to change the belief system, I guess, in our area. Not that everybody is like that, but we have enough that it's kind of become an issue. If you'll go to the next slide. So we have reached out to guest speakers, and like I said, they're basically just people who are business owners. We have a couple of entrepreneurs in our area. We have stores, restaurants, ranches, anything that welders, ag mechanics, all kinds of stuff like that. People that the kids know, that they like, that they trust, and they're going to come in and talk a little bit about things that translate from school to the business world. So we're focusing on being on time, staying for the entire shift, because we do have a really big problem, especially high school wise, with parents who excuse their kids just to run home for a minute, or they just need to go and rest. They stayed up too late last night, so they're going to go take a nap or whatever. So we're trying to show that what you do in school trains your body, yourself, your mind for the way that you behave later on. And so that was one of the things that we're asking our community members to visit a little bit about. Being prepared and ready for work. So, not saying, oh, I gotta call my mom to bring my boots because I wore my tennis shoes today or whatever. And then just again, how attendance habits that you have in school can show or can mirror what happens when you move on. And I've attached a couple of documents that we're going to be using. There's some worksheets that we have, so you all should have access to those. If you'll go to the next slide. Okay, so this is just kind of the things. I'm kind of, my husband said that I am a control freak, which I think might be true. So I have a whole list of suggested topics for our business leaders to cover. And so these are some of the things that we want them to kind of show, along with the other slide, just kind of explaining how, yeah, you don't show up at 8 o'clock every morning like you're supposed to. You're going to get fired. Now, we can't really fire you from high school, but you're going to lose time, after school activities, or you're not going to be able to participate in the clubs and that kind of stuff. So we're just trying to show everything's connected, because I think sometimes, we focus so much on getting good grades and paying attention in class that we don't realize, we're not just teaching them how to be math stars, we're also teaching them how to be people. And so being a person, you participate and do what you're supposed to do and show up on time. I've got some little scenario cards that we have collected, and I have an assistant who is a brilliant cricket woman. So she's created all of these little cards for us. So we're going to be using those. And we've got real life scenarios. So the kids will have some group work. We're planning on this taking probably one whole day, and we will have 7th through 12th grade. Of course, we'll construct it a little bit differently for the 7th graders as compared to the 12th graders. But we've got, and then we have attendance reflection worksheets. How do you compare your attendance in high school with what you think how you're going to be attending when you graduate, that kind of stuff. And then we also have a question and answer panel set up. So the kids and parents, we've invited some parents to come as well, can ask employers. So what do you expect from my student? What do you expect from my kid when they work for you? Things like that. And then if you'll go to the next slide. This is an example. I put it up at the top. This is one of our attendance plans. So we've got some kids who are habitual tardy people. And the older they are, the more tardy they are. It's a lot easier to get little kids to school most of the time. Well, not little kids. I should say it's our 7th and 8th graders don't have tardy problems. It's our 10th through 12th graders that have tardy problems. So we have these cute little contracts they can sign, and they think it's ridiculous because my 12th graders are like, oh my gosh, Mrs. Stringham, this is so silly. You're treating us like a child. And I'm like, yeah, but you like candy, right? So you turn this in and you've covered what you need. I'm going to give you some candy. And that kind of, bribery is great. We also are going to have a resume and interview section for our older kids. And then we have a career center at our high school. And our counselor spends a lot of time with like Utah Futures and Keys to Success and different programs that the state of Utah has. So she's going to have a little area set up so that they can do some specific investigation for careers that maybe aren't available in our area that they want to do later on, and even colleges. We have a couple of our local area college representatives who will be here that day. Basically, we just want to show the kids that we're not being mean to you by making you come to school. We're helping you figure out, your next step in life. And I mean, I always give them the example. If I don't show up at 7:30 every morning, Mr. Chappell, who is the principal here, or Mr. Shelley, who is our superintendent, they probably will fire me because I signed a contract. And technically, I mean, I know that you didn't, put your pen and ink on paper like I have to, but you've signed a contract because you are a student at our school. So that's kind of where we're at. And then really fast, and I didn't put the elementary stuff on here, but theirs is pretty cool as well. It's called The Road to Who Will Be. And because they're littler kids and they still like, trucks and cars and stuff like that, we're going to have all of our community members, as many as we can get, who have different types of vehicles. And by having the vehicles there, we're going to get the little kids interested in it because we've got, like dump trucks and race cars and whatever we can find with people who have different jobs and, fancy cars and stuff like that. But we're also going to try and explain to them how, okay, you really, really like this dump truck. Well, guess what? You can drive it if you keep coming to school, stuff like that. So it's pared down quite a bit for the littler kids, but that's kind of where we're looking so that everything is connected. And then what we want to try and do is keep this going, not every year, but every other year, so that we're hitting the kids, at least once every 2 years throughout the entire district. So that's our plan. We'll see how it works or not, but if you have any questions, let me know and send me emails and I can forward you as much information as I've got. So far, things are looking pretty good. We're doing a pretty decent job with getting kids to school and making parents be more aware of what's happening and calling in and excusing and explaining where the kids are. And then we're throwing all kinds of parties. That's been the thing that's got our kids to school the most. Oh, I can't not be there because I want to have popcorn that day. So, and it's cheap. Popcorn's cheap, so it works.
We ask questions on the call, or is it better to follow up with the presenter?
You can ask right now. Go ahead.
So, Nikki, I'm wondering, so I work at an elementary school in attendance, and I'm wondering, could you talk again about what you do with the attendance cards?
So the ones that I have attached here, these are ones that we're using with the high school. And
Right.
basically, so what they say, I don't know if you can see them very well or not, but it says attendance, today I will, or today I will work too. And so here's an example. So we have a student who he is smart and participates and is friendly and is kind and is handsome and everybody is his friend, but he cannot for the life of him get to school on time. So once a week, because he's usually tardy, at least twice a week, once a week when he pulls into the parking lot, I'll go out and we'll walk into class. And so he signs these, and it's just every day that he signs one of these. Today I will be to my 5th hour class on time. Today I will not come back late from lunch. Today I will make sure, something like that. And it's helped him quite a bit. He's kind of been, I hate to use the terminology, but he's kind of been our test dummy for this to see what works best and not. And because he's signing it and he's putting his name on it, it actually has helped him quite a bit. So this is just one of the things that we're hoping will work, but we've got a lot of different things like that. I have an attendance contract that we've used with a couple of 8th graders this year. And theirs was more, not necessarily because they are having a hard time getting to school, but because mom and dad are having a hard time getting them to school. And so the attendance contract, we had the parents come in and we had a conversation with the students and the parents, and then they signed the contract, and that's helped. And I don't know if it's just putting your name on a piece of paper, knowing that you signed something, but that's kind of where this comes from. So that's what those little attendance cards are.
And then what's the reward if they do what they commit to?
We let
Is there
them, we have, so I have a surprise cupboard in my office, and they get to choose, and it depends upon the type of success we're looking for. So with my tardy friend every morning, he gets to choose a drink, or he gets to have an extra 5 minutes of lunchtime, in the commons area, or he gets to go to PE early or something like that. So it really, because we're so small, we can put it to what each kid needs or what each kid wants. So I just have a cupboard full of things. So if we have, like I said, my tardy friend, I know exactly what he likes. So I make sure I always have that kind of stuff stocked. With some of our younger students, we know what they like. I mean, I did get a grant this year that kind of has helped with that. So we've got all kinds of snacks and treats and drinks and time. And it really is based on student by student.
Okay, thank you very much. And one other question, sorry, everybody. Have you implemented anything similar to this for your elementary school?
Yes. Yes, we have. So at the elementary school, we do it class by class because it's much easier than trying to target kid by kid. And like I said, with elementary kids, it's less their problem than it is mom and dad problem because
Right.
they can't drive, whereas at the high school they can drive. So with the little kids, we do class by class. So we have attendance parties every month and they get a popcorn party. So if they're, and I just go through our SIS system once a month and see whose classes are at the top. And then we'll start announcing about a week before we have the parties, Mrs. Blackburn's class is at this attendance. If you can get there this many times, these two are in the running, we can do this. And that's helped a ton. Like our little kids in Hanksville. So we have an outreach school. It's not really an outreach school, but kind of, that is K-5, and their attendance last month by itself was 99%, and that never happens. So,
Yeah.
and it's, I mean, I'm not above bribery, and that is exactly what it has come to. So they get a certificate, they get their certificate that they hang on the wall, they get some kind of treat, popcorn or chips or something like that, and then they can tell their parents, and we make sure that we post a picture or a note or something that goes to their classroom Facebook or whatever it is, wherever they're at, email or whatever. So we're making sure that we recognize teachers and students as well. And that's had a really, really positive effect as well.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikki, for sharing all the great things that you guys are doing in Wayne School District. We love learning from other people and seeing what other things are happening and things that are working for everyone. We are just about out of time. We wanted to leave enough time for some questions at the end. I did want to point you, if you haven't seen, part of our attendance campaign includes a lot of resources for schools that are easily made that you can quickly print off and use or send out. This is one resource I wanted to just share really quickly. If you click on this, it's a community flyer that you can actually take to the community members in your own school, or you could send out to your community members. It talks about why every day counts, why student engagement and attendance matters for Utah City, county, and community leaders. Talks about what chronic absenteeism is. It talks about how student attendance impacts the entire community, kind of like what you're talking about, Nikki, about getting your business partners in there, community members, trying to ask businesses not to schedule students during school hours, trying to make sure kids are where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be at school. I know I've many times as an administrator went and visited students at their workplaces being like, you should be at school, not at McDonald's, like, because you're not, and they were working. It wasn't because they were just hanging out at McDonald's. Done that too. But just another resource if you're interested. All the other resources, there's a lot of other things that you can use to help promote attendance that are on our website. This is our exit survey. If you'd like to leave us some feedback, we would love that. And then we will now just have time for questions if people want to hop on. If you are good, we're thankful that you came today. Thanks for joining us. We're grateful for our presenters for being here and sharing about so many awesome resources that are available throughout the state of Utah. And yeah, now we'll just have time for questions. You want to put them in the chat?
How do we access the links that are in the chat?
We will send out all of this information, and a recording of this meeting will be on our website, including all the slides. So they'll be available on the USBE Truancy and Prevention website. I can drop that in the chat too if you want to. There's our website if you want to get on there. We're updating that every day. We add more resources to that. And then somebody asked the question about, is this the last meeting of this series? And the answer is no. I know Garrett mentioned, like, he kept saying the new school year, but I think what he meant is the new calendar year. But no, this attendance series of webinars will continue in January. Our next one is on January 13th. So you are welcome to join us. Obviously, we would love it if you have things specific that you want us to go over in a webinar. We're happy to do that. We're also happy to meet with you individually or at your own schools to share other ideas or go over your policies with you, anything like that. There's a question, is there an opportunity for a private business to promote our services, or is it just for nonprofit and government resources? I'm not sure what you mean by promoting services, but yes, we partner with all businesses and all community partnerships. We would go over and partner with the people who are surrounding our school, other prominent business partners in our community, going and talking to them about how they can help us. I know if you're looking for simple like rewards for students, Chick-fil-A is really great, In and Out. I know a lot of those like Swig. Those drink places will donate gift cards and stuff to also help with the promotion of attendance. If you're like, we're going to give these to students who come to school on time, or we're holding a drawing, Crumble's really great to partner with. But yeah, I think that's what you're asking, but if it's not, then let me know. I'll try to clarify that. Other questions that anybody has that have stayed on? Welcome to come off chat or drop it. Or come off mute, I should say. Sorry, come off mute or drop your questions in the chat. Oh yeah. So some of the businesses I know that worked really well with us in my experience was, if anybody else knows, jump on. But I know Chick-fil-A does a lot to help schools, In and Out, Swig, So Delicious, those like drink places, Crumble Cookie, those places will often donate things to a school. If you say, we're trying to hold like a party for our students who are, not tardy, or we're doing a no tardy party or something on improved attendance, a lot of them will give specific donations.
And with those donations, typically they are looking for the school administrator to come and request. If you're like an attendance specialist or a district representative, they probably won't work with you. But if you can get the principal or even assistant principals, like all of them can go separately. And then you can get, depending on how many admins you have, that many more gift certificates. But even partnering like locally, finding out what kids are into, seeing if you can work with some of the local restaurants or even like roller skating rinks, Fat Catch, things like that. They're always pretty open to donate, especially if it's for attendance or school related things. And they might just make it generic, and then you could kind of work with your admin to see how you can utilize some of those for your attendance prizes.
Well, and finding out like what parents are in your community that attend your school or are in your LEA, and finding out what businesses they might own or what businesses they might have connections to. So going to your PTA or your school community council meetings and talking to those parents about, what connections do we have? How can we utilize not just community partners to donate things to the school, but also to partnership with you to help promote regular attendance. Any other questions you guys have, or it doesn't have to be specific about this, just anything attendance related. We're happy to answer if you're like, we came here hoping to get this answered and we didn't answer the question that you have. We're here. We've got a couple more minutes. We're happy to stay on and answer any specific questions you have or a scenario you might want us to help you walk through.
Thank you. I've got to check out. I have to go do lunch duty, but it's been great. Thanks.
Thanks, Nikki.
Yeah, thanks for presenting, Nikki. That was awesome.
Oh, and we still have Erica still here. And I don't know if Delaney signed off, but if you had questions for Erica or for Ben, I see them still here too. All right. Well, we will hopefully see you guys again in January. We will, like I said, we will be posting all this information on our website with all the slides and a recording of this meeting. So we appreciate you guys for being here. We're grateful for our presenters. But yeah, we'll just let you guys go. Thanks again.
Yeah, Erica, Ben, thank you guys. It was awesome.
Yes.
And then Megan, if you want to just stay on for